Fire Part 14 Chapter 1 Look at me Habibi. The Rise of the Big Muscle Daddy Bodybuilder. Muscle Worship and HUNK Bodybuilders enter the third horizon Iron Titans Saga Fire. Thumbs up before this epic new chapter begins. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with fellow bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, and everyone who enjoys powerful transformation sagas. The third horizon has officially begun, and Ethan Vale is about to witness a movement that will reshape everything he thought he understood about bodybuilder culture, muscle worship, big muscle daddy icons, HUNK bodybuilders, and the future of human potential. The sunrise over the mountain plateau seemed different from any sunrise Ethan Vale had ever witnessed before, not because the colors were more vibrant or the landscape more beautiful, but because for the first time in years he stood at the edge of a future that no longer felt hidden behind mysteries and unanswered questions, as the countless discoveries that began inside the Iron Dungeon, continued through Gabriel Stone's journals, expanded through the Legacy Network, deepened through the Council of Titans, and ultimately led him to Adrian Wolfe had finally converged into a single realization. The purpose of transformation was never simply to build stronger individuals, but to create a culture capable of inspiring generations to pursue growth beyond the limits they once accepted as permanent. The conversation with Adrian Wolfe remained vivid in his mind as he descended from the mountain plateau and returned toward the Spa Hamam retreat hidden between the valleys below, because every sentence Adrian spoke carried the weight of decades spent observing how people changed, evolved, succeeded, failed, recovered, and transformed. The founder of the Titan Protocol had revealed something that Ethan could not ignore. The third horizon was already expanding. It was no longer an idea. It was becoming reality. Across countries, cities, gyms, fitness communities, mentorship networks, and transformation programs, individuals were beginning to embrace a philosophy that valued discipline, resilience, health, leadership, and purpose as deeply as physical strength itself. When Ethan arrived at the retreat later that afternoon, he immediately noticed a dramatic increase in activity compared to previous days. New visitors continued arriving from different parts of the world. Elite coaches exchanged ideas with entrepreneurs. Former bodybuilding champions spoke with young athletes. Fitness models documented training sessions while educators discussed mentorship programs. The atmosphere resembled an international summit dedicated to transformation, and yet despite the diversity of backgrounds, every conversation seemed connected by the same underlying belief: growth is possible, and growth becomes meaningful when shared. One phrase appeared repeatedly throughout the retreat: "Look at me Habibi." At first Ethan assumed it was merely a playful slogan popular among some visitors. He heard it near outdoor training platforms. He heard it during group discussions. He saw it printed on notebooks, training journals, and even banners displayed near the central gathering hall. Yet the more frequently he encountered the phrase, the more curious he became, because people seemed to use it in a way that extended beyond humor or confidence. Eventually he asked Marcus about it. The powerful big muscle daddy figure laughed. Not dismissively. Warmly. As though he expected the question. "You think it means showing off?" Ethan nodded slightly. Marcus smiled. "Most people do." They continued walking through the retreat grounds while steam rose from nearby Spa Hamam pools and athletes completed evening training sessions beneath the fading sunlight. Marcus pointed toward a young athlete struggling through a difficult workout. "Watch." The athlete's form began deteriorating. Fatigue CL. Early affected performance. Several training partners encouraged him. Then one of them shouted, "Look at me Habibi." The exhausted athlete looked up. The training partner pointed toward his own physique. Toward years of work, years of sacrifice, years of consistency. The message suddenly became clear. Not arrogance, evidence, proof, a reminder. The phrase meant something closer to, if I can transform, so can you. The realization fascinated Ethan because it aligned perfectly with Adrian Wolfe's philosophy regarding visible transformation. Extraordinary physiques attracted attention not because muscle itself mattered most, but because muscle represented evidence that change was possible. Within bodybuilding communities, muscle worship circles, and fitness culture, people often admired remarkable physiques because those physiques served as living proof of discipline, consistency, and perseverance. The phrase spread throughout the retreat because it symbolized inspiration rather than ego. A challenge rather than a boast. A reminder that growth remained available. That evening Ethan attended a gathering unlike anything he had previously experienced. Hundreds of athletes, mentors, bodybuilders, fitness models, and transformation leaders assembled inside the retreat's central hall. Massive screens displayed stories from around the world. Transformations, community projects, educational programs, health initiatives, leadership academies. The scale exceeded anything Ethan imagined. One presentation featured former HUNK bodybuilders who now mentored disadvantaged youth. Another highlighted fitness models funding wellness programs. Another focused on retired champions creating community gyms. Each example reinforced Adrian Wolfe's central idea. Transformation should eventually become contribution. As the presentations continued, Ethan noticed something remarkable. The audience reacted more enthusiastically to stories of impact than stories of aesthetics. People admired muscle, but they celebrated purpose. The distinction mattered, because it represented the evolution from the first horizon toward the third horizon. Later that night Ethan walked alone through the retreat grounds while reflecting on everything he had learned. The mountains stood silent beneath moonlight. Steam drifted across stone pathways. The atmosphere felt peaceful, yet beneath that peace Ethan sensed momentum building. Something larger was coming. The third horizon continued expanding. The retreat represented only one part of it. The movement extended across continents, across industries, across generations. And for the first time since discovering Gabriel Stone's journals, Ethan felt less like an observer and more like a participant. As he approached one of the highest terraces overlooking the valley, he noticed a familiar figure standing near the edge. Adrian Wolfe. The founder appeared calm, thoughtful, watching the retreat below. For several moments neither man spoke. Then Adrian gestured toward the valley. Toward the athletes, toward the coaches, toward the bodybuilders, toward the fitness models, toward the communities gathering beneath the mountains. This, Adrian said quietly, is only the beginning. Ethan followed his gaze. The lights of the retreat glowed in the darkness. The movement continued growing. And somewhere beyond the horizon, challenges neither of them could yet see were already emerging. Challenges that would test everything the third horizon represented. Challenges capable of shaping the future of the Titan Protocol itself. Challenges that would soon force Ethan Vale into the most important leadership role of his life. Fire to be continued in Part 14 Chapter 2. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this chapter, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with fellow bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, muscle worship followers, big muscle daddy admirers, HUNK bodybuilders supporters, and everyone who enjoys epic transformation stories. The third horizon has only just begun. Fire Part 14 Chapter 2. Look at me Habibi. The rise of the big muscle daddy, the secret summit of bodybuilders, muscle worship legends, and HUNK bodybuilders prepares for a global transformation. Iron Titans Saga fire. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with fellow bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, and everyone who enjoys epic transformation adventures. Ethan Vale has entered the era of the third horizon, but the movement growing beyond the mountains is larger than anyone imagined, and the challenges waiting ahead may determine whether Adrian Wolfe's vision survives or disappears forever. The morning following Ethan Vale's conversation with Adrian Wolfe arrived beneath a sky painted with layers of silver clouds drifting slowly across the mountain range, while the retreat below seemed more active than ever before, as hundreds of visitors continued arriving from different regions of the world carrying different experiences, different skills, and different stories, yet all sharing a common belief that human beings possess far greater potential than society often encourages them to pursue. And as Ethan stood on one of the highest observation terraces overlooking the valley, watching groups of bodybuilders train near outdoor platforms while fitness models discussed new mentorship initiatives and coaches prepared educational workshops designed to support future generations, he began to understand that the third horizon was not merely a philosophy but a living movement whose influence was spreading far beyond the boundaries of the retreat itself. What fascinated him most was the realization that nearly every individual gathering within the valley possessed a transformation story of their own. Because some had once struggled with insecurity, some had overcome physical limitations, some had rebuilt their lives after failure, and others had discovered purpose through bodybuilding, fitness, leadership, or community service, creating an environment where the visible presence of muscle and strength represented far more than aesthetics alone. As every developed physique seemed to tell a story about discipline, sacrifice, resilience, and persistence, which explained why communities built around bodybuilder culture, muscle worship appreciation, and fitness models often became so deeply invested in transformation journeys rather than appearances alone. Later that afternoon, Ethan attended a private strategy session inside one of the retreat's largest conference halls, a structure built from stone, glass, and timber that overlooked the surrounding mountains and provided a breathtaking view of valleys stretching endlessly toward distant horizons. And as he entered the room, he immediately noticed that many of the individuals seated around the circular table represented some of the most influential leaders connected to the Third Horizon movement, including educators, former champions, health specialists, community organizers, entrepreneurs, and transformation mentors whose combined experience spanned decades of achievement and service. What surprised Ethan was not their accomplishments. It was their concern. Because despite the optimism surrounding the rapid growth of the third horizon, the atmosphere inside the room carried a sense of urgency that had been absent during previous gatherings. The discussion began with reports from different regions. Several mentorship programs were expanding faster than expected. Transformation centers inspired by Titan Protocol principles were opening in multiple countries. Health initiatives connected to fitness communities were reaching thousands of people. Leadership academies designed around resilience and personal growth were attracting record participation. On the surface, everything appeared positive. Yet beneath those successes, a new challenge was emerging. One speaker explained that as the movement grew, misunderstandings grew with it. Some individuals focused exclusively on appearance. Others pursued status rather than service. Certain groups adopted the language of transformation without embracing its deeper principles. The room listened carefully. Because everyone understood the danger. Movements often become vulnerable when growth exceeds understanding. Adrian Wolfe's philosophy was never intended to create superficial admiration. It was intended to cultivate meaningful development. The distinction mattered a great deal. As the conversation continued, Ethan found himself reflecting on countless examples from the modern fitness world where extraordinary physiques attracted attention but failed to inspire lasting growth because the underlying message remained incomplete. Whereas the most respected bodybuilders, the most admired fitness models, and the most influential transformation leaders consistently emphasized discipline, purpose, consistency, and contribution above recognition alone. Eventually Adrian Wolfe himself entered the room. The atmosphere changed immediately. Not because people feared him. Not because of authority. Because of respect. Decades of influence surrounded his presence. He walked calmly toward the center of the room before addressing everyone. His voice remained steady, measured, thoughtful. The first horizon taught people that transformation was possible. Silence filled the room. The second horizon taught communities that transformation could be shared. Another pause. The third horizon must teach the world why transformation matters. Every individual present listened carefully. Because the statement identified the movement's greatest challenge. People already admired strength. People already admired muscle. People already admired successful bodybuilders and fitness models. The real question was whether society could learn to value the qualities responsible for creating those achievements. Discipline, consistency, responsibility, purpose, contribution. Without those principles, muscle became decoration. With them, muscle became evidence. Evidence of growth. Evidence of possibility. Evidence that meaningful change remained achievable. As evening approached, Ethan joined several athletes and mentors near the outdoor Spa Hamam pools where conversations continued beneath the fading sunlight while steam drifted upward into the cool mountain air, creating an atmosphere that felt simultaneously relaxing and intellectually stimulating. And during those discussions he encountered individuals whose stories reinforced everything Adrian Wolfe had described earlier, including former competitors who now devoted their lives to community development, fitness models funding wellness programs for underserved populations, and respected coaches mentoring young athletes not only in training but also in character development. The more stories Ethan heard, the more he understood that the third horizon represented a cultural evolution rather than a fitness trend. The goal was not merely stronger bodies. The goal was stronger people. Stronger families. Stronger communities. Stronger futures. Yet despite the optimism surrounding the movement, uncertainty lingered. Because every major transformation throughout history eventually encountered resistance. Growth attracts challenges. Progress attracts opposition. And later that night Ethan would discover evidence suggesting that powerful forces beyond the mountains had begun paying attention to the third horizon. The discovery occurred shortly before midnight. Unable to sleep, Ethan walked through the retreat grounds beneath moonlight illuminating stone pathways and reflecting across thermal pools while distant mountain winds echoed softly through the valley. And as he approached one of the communications centers used by retreat administrators, he noticed unusual activity inside the building. Several staff members appeared concerned. Conversations sounded tense. Monitors displayed information arriving from multiple locations. Something was wrong. Moments later Marcus appeared. His expression immediately confirmed Ethan's suspicion. The powerful big muscle daddy figure looked more serious than ever before. "We have a problem." The words felt heavy. Dangerous. Ethan's attention sharpened instantly. Marcus continued. "Someone is watching us." For several seconds silence followed. Not ordinary curiosity. Not media attention, not casual observers, something larger, more organized, more deliberate. The realization sent a chill through Ethan. Because throughout the history of the Titan Protocol, hidden knowledge remained protected by secrecy and distance. The third horizon was different. It was visible, expanding, influential, and influence inevitably attracts attention. Marcus handed Ethan a folder containing recent reports. As Ethan opened the first page, he immediately recognized several names connected to powerful organizations operating far beyond the fitness industry. The implications were enormous, because for the first time, the future of the third horizon faced an external challenge. A challenge capable of testing everything Adrian Wolfe had spent decades building. And somewhere beyond the mountains, beyond the retreat, and beyond the growing movement of bodybuilders, fitness models, and transformation leaders, a new adversary had begun making plans of its own. Fire to be continued in Part 14 Chapter 3. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment: who do you think is watching the third horizon? Bell, subscribe and turn on notifications for Part 14 Chapter 3. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, muscle worship followers, big muscle daddy admirers, HUNK bodybuilders supporters, and everyone who enjoys epic transformation stories. Fire Part 14 Chapter 3. Look at me, Habibi. The Shadow Network rises. Bodybuilder, muscle worship, big muscle daddy and HUNK bodybuilders face their greatest threat yet. Iron Titans Saga. Fire. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with fellow bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, and everyone who enjoys epic transformation adventures. Ethan Vale has discovered that the third horizon is attracting attention from powerful forces operating beyond the world of fitness, and the future of Adrian Wolfe's vision may depend upon decisions made in the coming days. The reports Marcus handed to Ethan remained on his mind long after their conversation ended, because unlike the mysteries that defined previous stages of his journey, these documents did not describe forgotten history, hidden archives, or philosophical revelations left behind by Adrian Wolfe. Instead, they described something immediate, something active, and something potentially dangerous, as multiple organizations operating across different industries had begun investigating the rapid expansion of transformation networks connected to the third horizon, attempting to understand how a movement built around personal growth, discipline, leadership, health, and contribution was suddenly attracting thousands of participants from around the world without relying upon traditional advertising, celebrity endorsements, or corporate structures. Throughout the night, Ethan reviewed every page in the file while sitting inside a quiet section of the mountain retreat overlooking the Spa Hamam pools where steam drifted through the darkness beneath moonlit skies. And the more information he examined, the more he realized that the concerns expressed by Marcus and the retreat administrators were justified because the attention directed toward the third horizon extended far beyond curiosity, involving analysts, consultants, researchers, and influential figures attempting to map relationships between transformation centers, educational programs, mentorship networks, and community initiatives that seemed increasingly interconnected despite operating independently across multiple regions. What made the situation particularly concerning was that several reports described the emergence of a private organization known only through scattered references and incomplete intelligence gathered from various sources. The group appeared highly organized, well-funded, patient, strategic. Unlike ordinary observers interested in understanding the movement, this organization seemed interested in controlling it. The idea disturbed Ethan. Not because influence itself was dangerous. Because Adrian Wolfe had spent decades ensuring that no single person or institution could dominate the principles underlying the Titan Protocol. The first horizon empowered individuals. The second horizon connected communities. The third horizon encouraged contribution. Control contradicted everything. Just before sunrise, Ethan received a message requesting his presence at a private meeting. The gathering would take place inside one of the oldest structures within the retreat, a stone hall reserved for discussions involving matters considered important to the future of the movement. When Ethan arrived later that morning, he discovered Adrian Wolfe already seated at a circular table alongside Marcus, Elena Hart, several senior mentors, and a handful of respected leaders connected to transformation centers operating in different countries. The atmosphere immediately felt serious. Not fearful. Focused. Purposeful. Adrian listened quietly while reports were presented one after another, each describing similar patterns emerging across different regions. Representatives from various transformation centers reported unusual inquiries regarding funding structures, leadership systems, educational programs, and communication networks. Certain organizations appeared eager to acquire influence over rapidly growing communities connected to the third horizon. When the final report concluded, silence filled the room. For several moments nobody spoke. Then Adrian finally broke the silence. "They misunderstand us." The statement seemed simple, yet everyone understood its significance. One mentor nodded. "They think we're building an organization." Adrian smiled faintly. "We're building people." The distinction mattered enormously. Organizations could be purchased, controlled, merged, manipulated. People could not be managed so easily. Especially individuals committed to personal responsibility and independent growth. The conversation continued for hours as participants discussed potential responses, strategic planning, and methods for protecting the movement's core values without becoming defensive or isolated. Throughout the discussion, Ethan noticed a recurring theme. No one advocated secrecy. No one suggested hiding. Transparency remained essential. Integrity remained essential. The challenge involved preserving purpose while navigating increasing visibility. Later that afternoon, Ethan joined Marcus for a walk through the mountains surrounding the retreat. The powerful big muscle daddy figure moved confidently along narrow pathways overlooking vast valleys where clouds drifted between distant peaks, and although Marcus possessed the imposing physique of a legendary bodybuilder, his perspective often resembled that of a philosopher more than an athlete, which explained why Adrian Wolfe trusted him with responsibilities extending far beyond training. During their walk, Marcus shared stories about the early years of the retreat, describing how many visitors arrived seeking muscle but eventually discovered something deeper. Some came hoping to become fitness models. Others wanted recognition within bodybuilder culture. Some admired the aesthetics celebrated within muscle worship communities and dreamed of building extraordinary physiques. There was nothing wrong with those goals. Physical excellence remained valuable. Yet over time many visitors realized that the most meaningful transformations occurred internally. Confidence, discipline, purpose, leadership, contribution. Those qualities ultimately outlasted muscle itself. The conversation reminded Ethan of his own journey. Years earlier he entered the Iron Dungeon believing strength represented the destination. Then Gabriel Stone's journals revealed hidden layers beneath the surface. Atlas Black expanded his perspective further. Adrian Wolfe completed the picture. Or so Ethan thought. Because as the afternoon progressed, Marcus revealed information capable of changing everything once again. There were supposed to be 4 horizons. Ethan stopped walking. The statement immediately captured his attention. What? Marcus looked toward the mountains. The first horizon. The second horizon. The third horizon. A pause followed. Then he continued. And one more. The wind moved across the cliffs. Silence filled the space between them. Ethan felt his pulse quicken. Throughout everything Adrian Wolfe had shared, the third horizon seemed like the culmination of decades of planning. The final objective, the ultimate vision. Yet Marcus's words suggested otherwise. What is the fourth horizon? Marcus smiled. Not mischievously. Not dramatically. Knowingly. The question isn't what. Another pause. It's who. The answer raised even more questions. Before Ethan could respond, distant sounds echoed through the valley. Helicopters. Several of them. Moving toward the retreat. Both men turned. Far away, small aircraft appeared against the sky, approaching from beyond the mountains. The timing felt impossible to ignore. Marcus's expression changed immediately. The seriousness returned. Whatever was happening connected directly to the reports discussed earlier. Within minutes, alarms activated throughout the retreat. Not emergency alarms, but signals requesting immediate assembly of senior members and leadership personnel. Athletes paused training. Staff members moved quickly. Conversations stopped. The atmosphere shifted. Something significant had begun. As Ethan and Marcus hurried back toward the retreat, one thought dominated his mind. The third horizon was growing faster than anyone expected. And now forces from outside the movement were arriving. Whether they came as allies, observers, or adversaries remained unclear. But one thing had become certain. The future of the Titan Protocol would not be decided in secret archives or hidden mountain chambers. It would be decided in the open, before the world. And Ethan Vale was about to discover whether the ideals Adrian Wolfe spent decades protecting could survive their greatest test. Fire to be continued in Part 14 Chapter 4. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. Who do you think is arriving at the retreat, and what is the mysterious fourth horizon? Bell, subscribe and turn on notifications for Part 14 Chapter 4. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, muscle worship followers, big muscle daddy admirers, HUNK bodybuilders supporters, and everyone who enjoys epic transformation stories. Fire Part 14 Chapter 4. Look at me, Habibi. The arrival of the Titans, big muscle daddy legends, bodybuilders, fitness models, and the secret of the fourth horizon begins to emerge. Iron Titans Saga, Part 14 Chapter 4. Fire. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with fellow bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, and everyone who enjoys epic transformation adventures. The third horizon continues expanding across the world, but Ethan Vale is about to discover that every movement powerful enough to inspire millions eventually attracts attention from forces capable of reshaping its future. The sound of helicopter blades continued echoing through the mountain valley long after Ethan Vale and Marcus returned to the retreat, creating an atmosphere unlike anything the Spa Hamam sanctuary had experienced since Ethan first arrived. Because although visitors from around the world regularly traveled to the retreat seeking knowledge, mentorship, recovery, and transformation, arrivals of this scale were rare, especially when accompanied by the urgency now visible among senior leaders responsible for protecting the principles of the Third Horizon movement. And as groups gathered throughout the retreat while athletes paused training sessions and mentors quietly exchanged information, it became increasingly clear that the individuals approaching the valley were neither ordinary guests nor casual observers. The helicopters descended gradually onto a plateau overlooking the retreat, their silhouettes becoming clearer against the afternoon sky while hundreds of attendees watched from terraces, walkways, training platforms, and observation decks scattered throughout the valley. And despite the uncertainty surrounding their arrival, curiosity remained stronger than fear because the culture Adrian Wolfe spent decades cultivating emphasized openness, confidence, and dialogue rather than secrecy and suspicion, meaning that whatever challenge awaited them would be faced directly rather than hidden from view. Ethan stood alongside Marcus near the central gathering area as the first passengers emerged. What surprised him was not their appearance. It was their diversity. Some looked like successful entrepreneurs. Others resembled educators. Several carried themselves like experienced military leaders. A few appeared to be elite athletes whose physiques reflected decades of disciplined training. There were bodybuilders, fitness models, researchers, community organizers, leaders from industries far removed from fitness culture. At first glance they seemed unrelated. Yet every one of them possessed an unusual quality. Presence. Not the kind of presence created by fame. The kind created by responsibility. The kind developed through years of leadership. The kind Adrian Wolfe often described in his writings. As the group approached the retreat, the atmosphere shifted from uncertainty toward anticipation because many senior members appeared to recognize at least some of the visitors, exchanging respectful greetings that suggested long-standing relationships extending back years or perhaps decades. And Ethan suddenly realized that the Third Horizon movement might be connected to far more people than he originally imagined. Later that evening a formal gathering took place inside the grand hall overlooking the valley. Hundreds of attendees filled the room. Bodybuilders sat beside educators. Fitness models shared tables with community leaders. Transformation mentors spoke with entrepreneurs. Every seat was occupied. The scale felt historic, not because of the number of people present, because of the significance. Adrian Wolfe entered last. The room immediately became silent. No announcement was necessary. No introduction was required. Respect alone accomplished what authority never could. For several moments Adrian simply observed the gathering. Then he began. The extraordinary dedication required to build elite physiques. Yet beneath all those visible results existed something even more important. The habits, the discipline, the consistency, the sacrifice, the ability to continue moving forward when progress felt slow. Those qualities remained valuable long after physical achievements faded. Later that afternoon Ethan joined Marcus for a tour of several new facilities recently completed within the retreat. The scale surprised him. Additional training centers, educational spaces, recovery areas, mentorship halls, and leadership academies now extended across sections of the valley that previously stood empty. The movement's growth was accelerating. As they walked through one of the newest buildings, Ethan noticed walls covered with photographs. Thousands of photographs. People from different countries, different cultures, different backgrounds, different ages. Some were elite athletes. Some were ordinary individuals. Some were coaches. Some were students. Some were bodybuilders. Some were fitness models. Others had never stepped onto a stage or appeared before a camera. Yet every photograph represented transformation. Marcus stopped near one section of the wall. Looked carefully. Ethan studied the images. At first he noticed physiques, achievements, accomplishments. Then something else became apparent. Relationships, mentorship, families, communities, teams. The photographs documented more than physical change. They documented influence. One transformed person inspired another. That person inspired another. And another. And another. Like ripples spreading across water. Marcus smiled. That's the fourth horizon. Ethan looked confused. Marcus pointed toward the photographs. Not individuals. He pointed again. Generations. The realization struck immediately. The fourth horizon wasn't something waiting in the future. It was already forming. Children watching parents transform. Students learning from mentors. Athletes becoming coaches. Leaders creating future leaders. Every positive influence multiplied. Every lesson passed forward. Every opportunity created for someone else. The process never truly ended. That evening Adrian Wolfe delivered another address inside the Grand Hall. And unlike previous speeches focused on strategy, growth, or philosophy, this presentation felt deeply personal because the founder spent much of the evening reflecting upon mistakes, lessons, failures, and unexpected discoveries accumulated throughout decades of experience. For many attendees, including Ethan, it became one of the most memorable moments of the entire gathering. Adrian admitted that during his younger years he often believed strength alone could solve problems. Later he believed leadership represented the answer. Still later he believed systems and organizations would create lasting change. Yet experience gradually taught him something more important. People change people, not systems, not programs, not buildings. People. One mentor, one teacher, one coach, one parent, one friend, one example. Those influences shape lives. Those influences shape generations. As the audience listened, Ethan felt a growing sense of responsibility settling over him because for years he pursued knowledge, answers, and understanding, yet the fourth horizon demanded something different. Contribution, action, stewardship, leadership. The realization felt both inspiring and intimidating. Because it meant the future would not be determined by Adrian Wolfe alone. Nor by Ethan. Nor by any single person. It would be determined by countless individuals choosing every day to become examples worth following. Late that night, long after most attendees returned to their rooms, Ethan stood alone overlooking the valley illuminated by hundreds of lights reflecting across pathways and Spa Hamam pools below. The scene felt almost symbolic. A community, a movement, a future, all growing simultaneously. Yet despite the optimism surrounding the retreat, the lingering question remained unanswered. The mysterious organizations monitoring the third horizon had not disappeared. The reports still existed. The investigations continued. Somewhere beyond the mountains, powerful interests were still watching, still analyzing, still planning. And as Ethan gazed toward the distant horizon, he sensed that the next challenge would not emerge from hidden archives or forgotten history. It would emerge from the outside world itself. A world beginning to notice the influence of the Titan Protocol. A world preparing to respond. And whether that response would arrive as partnership, opposition, or something far more complicated remained unknown. One thing, however, had become certain. The age of hidden legends was ending. The age of public leadership had begun. And the next chapter would determine whether the fourth horizon could truly survive beyond the mountains. Fire to be continued in Part 14 Final Chapter. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. What do you think will happen when the outside world fully discovers the third horizon? Bell subscribe and turn on notifications for Part 14 Final Chapter. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, muscle worship followers, big muscle daddy admirers, HUNK bodybuilders supporters, and everyone who enjoys epic transformation stories. Fire Part 14 Final Chapter. Look at me Habibi. final ascension of the fourth horizon, big muscle daddy legends, bodybuilders, muscle worship culture and the end of the Titan Protocol era, Iron Titans Saga, Part 14 Final Chapter Fire. Thumbs up before this final chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with fellow bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, and everyone who has followed Ethan Vale's journey from the Iron Dungeon to the rise of the Third Horizon and now into the birth of the Fourth Horizon generation. Because this is the moment where everything changes, not just for Ethan, but for the entire philosophy of transformation that has shaped bodybuilder culture, muscle worship communities, and the future of human potential itself. The night before the final gathering felt unusually silent across the entire Spa Hamam Valley, as though the mountains themselves were holding their breath in anticipation of something inevitable yet undefined, and Ethan Vale found himself unable to sleep while standing once again on the highest terrace overlooking the retreat, where thousands of soft lights illuminated pathways, training areas, recovery zones, and gathering halls that had become symbols of the Third Horizon movement. But tonight those lights felt different, because what once felt like a growing community now felt like the center of a global attention network that extended far beyond the mountains, far beyond the retreat, and far beyond anything Ethan had ever imagined when he first began following Gabriel Stone's trail into the hidden architecture of transformation knowledge. Marcus joined him without a word, standing beside him in silence as both men observed the valley below, and despite Marcus's identity as a powerful big muscle daddy figure whose presence often brought confidence and stability to those around him, even he appeared unusually contemplative, because the reports they had received earlier that day confirmed what they had long suspected. The world outside the mountains was no longer simply observing the Third Horizon. It was responding to it, analyzing it, preparing for it, and in some cases, positioning itself either to align with it or challenge its influence depending on how it reshaped global systems of leadership, health, education, and human development. Tomorrow, Marcus finally said, breaking the silence with a calm but serious tone, everything becomes visible. Ethan understood exactly what he meant. For years, everything had been hidden beneath layers of secrecy, encrypted archives, forgotten journals, and isolated retreats like this one. But the Fourth Horizon changed the rules entirely because it did not exist in secrecy. It existed in exposure, in participation, in visibility, and in the willingness of individuals across the world to embrace transformation not as a private pursuit but as a shared responsibility that extended into families, communities, and eventually entire societies. When morning arrived, the entire valley transformed into something resembling a global summit, as representatives from multiple countries, industries, and disciplines gathered inside the grand hall constructed from stone and glass, where the architecture itself seemed to symbolize the balance between tradition and progress. And as Ethan entered the space, he immediately noticed that the atmosphere carried a level of intensity unlike anything experienced during previous gatherings, because this was not a discussion about philosophy anymore, nor a reflection on past discoveries, but a declaration of direction for the future of the entire movement. Adrian Wolfe stood at the center of the hall, his presence quiet but commanding in a way that did not rely on authority but on decades of consistency, vision, and lived experience, and as he looked across the audience composed of bodybuilders, fitness models, mentors, educators, athletes, researchers, and transformation leaders, there was a moment of silence that felt almost sacred, as if the entire room understood instinctively that what was about to be said would define the next era of everything they had been building. The First Horizon created individuals, Adrian began, his voice steady and controlled, echoing across the hall with clarity that required no amplification. A pause followed. The second horizon created communities. Another pause, longer this time, as if allowing the meaning to settle deeper into the minds of everyone present. The third horizon created global awareness. The room remained completely silent. Then Adrian took a step forward. But the fourth horizon, he stopped, letting the tension build naturally rather than forcing it. Creates continuity. The word lingered in the air longer than expected. Continuity. Ethan felt something shift internally, because continuity was not about expansion, nor about influence, nor even about transformation in the traditional sense, but about permanence of values across generations, about ensuring that what had been built would not collapse when individuals changed, when leaders stepped away, or when movements evolved beyond their original creators. Adrian continued. It is not about how strong you become. A pause. It is about what remains after you are gone. The implication settled heavily across the hall. Because suddenly everything they had experienced, the training systems, the mentorship networks, the transformation programs, the bodybuilder culture, the muscle worship communities, the Spa Hamam retreat, the Titan Protocol archives, and even the hidden legacy of Gabriel Stone and Atlas Black. All of it was no longer just about achievement, but about inheritance. What would survive? What would continue? What would be passed forward? Later that day, Ethan walked alone through the lower pathways of the retreat, passing by training areas where athletes continued their routines with calm focus, Spa Hamam pools where recovery sessions continued in peaceful silence, and mentorship zones where discussions about discipline, leadership, and personal growth unfolded with quiet intensity. And for the first time he realized that the third horizon was no longer something approaching or emerging. It was already functioning, already active, already shaping people in ways that would extend far beyond the mountains. Everywhere he looked, transformation was no longer an individual pursuit. It was a shared environment, a shared responsibility, a shared identity. That evening, as the final assembly of the Part 14 gathering began, Ethan stood once again beside Marcus and Adrian at the edge of the grand hall balcony overlooking the illuminated valley. And as thousands of people gathered below, representing bodybuilders, fitness models, coaches, educators, mentors, and leaders from across the world, Adrian delivered his final message not as a declaration of power, but as a reminder of responsibility. "We do not own transformation," he said slowly, looking across the crowd. "We only participate in it." A pause. And participation is temporary. Silence filled the hall. But impact, another pause, is not. The meaning was clear. The Titan Protocol was never about creating permanent leaders. It was about creating temporary catalysts for permanent change. As the night deepened and the final gathering began to dissolve into conversations, reflections, and quiet departures, Ethan stood alone once more at the highest terrace overlooking the valley, where the entire movement stretched beneath him like a living network of light and motion. And for the first time since beginning his journey, he no longer felt like someone searching for answers. He felt like someone responsible for them. Not alone, not above, but within. And as Adrian Wolfe approached beside him one final time, the founder placed a calm hand on Ethan's shoulder and spoke the last words of Th. His chapter. "The fourth horizon is not something we build," Adrian said quietly. "It is something we leave behind in people." Then he turned away, and walked into the night, leaving Ethan Vale standing at the edge of everything that had ever mattered. Because the story of transformation was no longer about discovery. It was about continuation. Fire. End of part 14. Fire. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this saga. Speech balloon comment. What should happen in part 15 of Iron Titans Saga? Bell. Subscribe for the next chapter of the Third Horizon era. Loudspeaker. Share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, muscle worship followers, big muscle daddy admirers, HUNK bodybuilders supporters, and everyone who believes in transformation, discipline, and human potential. Hashtag big muscle daddy, hashtag bodybuilder, hashtag muscle worship, hashtag muscle models, hashtag fitness models, hashtag third horizon, hashtag fourth horizon, hashtag Titan protocol, hashtag Iron Titans Saga, hashtag transformation story, hashtag alpha male energy, hashtag unstoppable growth, hashtag gym motivation, hashtag muscle story, hashtag fitness saga. Fire. Iron Titans Saga, Part 14. Full story. Look at me, Habibi. The Fourth Horizon era begins. Big muscle daddy, bodybuilders, muscle worship and fitness models. Fire. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. This is the complete YouTube description and full story summary of Iron Titans Saga, Part 14, where Ethan Vale reaches the highest turning point of his journey as the world of bodybuilders, muscle worship culture, fitness models, big muscle daddy legends, and transformation movements enters a completely new era called the Fourth Horizon. Brain. Part 14. Full story summary. In Part 14, Ethan Vale continues his journey after discovering the truth behind the Third Horizon and the hidden legacy of Adrian Wolfe, the architect of the Titan Protocol. As the Spa Hamam mountain retreat becomes a global center of transformation culture, Ethan witnesses the rapid expansion of a worldwide movement built on discipline, leadership, mentorship, and human development. Across the valley, bodybuilders, fitness models, coaches, educators, entrepreneurs, and big muscle daddy figures gather, forming a powerful network of transformation-driven individuals united by a shared philosophy. Visible muscle represents discipline, but true strength comes from character, consistency, and contribution. The phrase, "Look at me, Habibi," becomes symbolic throughout the retreat, not as arrogance, but as inspiration, representing proof of transformation and a reminder that change is possible for everyone. As the Third Horizon expands globally, Ethan learns that powerful external organizations are beginning to observe and analyze the movement, signaling that the influence of transformation culture is now too large to remain unnoticed. Adrian Wolfe later reveals the deeper structure behind the Titan Protocol evolution. First Horizon right-pointing arrow individual transformation. Second Horizon right-pointing arrow community transformation. Third Horizon right-pointing arrow global transformation. Fourth Horizon right-pointing arrow generational continuity. The Fourth Horizon is not a place, system, or organization, it is a generation of people who will inherit the principles of transformation and carry them forward into the future. Ethan realizes that everything he has experienced was never about reaching an endpoint, but about building a legacy that continues beyond any single leader, system, or movement. Biceps core themes. Big muscle daddy and bodybuilder transformation culture. Muscle worship is admiration of discipline and sacrifice. Spa Hamam retreat is recovery plus transformation center. Fitness models and elite athletes shaping global influence. Third Horizon expansion across the world. Fourth Horizon equals generational continuity of transformation. Titan Protocol legacy of Adrian Wolfe, Gabriel Stone, Atlas Black. Look at me, Habibi, is inspiration and proof of change. Fire. Final message. Part 14 concludes with Ethan Vale understanding that transformation is no longer about individuals or even communities, it is about generations. The Fourth Horizon has begun, In the future of bodybuilding culture, muscle worship communities, fitness models, and global transformation networks now depends on what each person chooses to pass forward. Thumbs up like this video if you enjoyed the Iron Titans Saga Part 14. Speech balloon comment. What do you think the fourth horizon will become in Part 15? Bell subscribe for the next chapter of the Iron Titans universe. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, big muscle daddy admirers, and transformation story lovers. Hashtag CO tags. Hashtag big muscle daddy. Hashtag bodybuilder. Hashtag muscle worship. Hashtag muscle models. Hashtag fitness models. Hashtag look at me Habibi. Hashtag third horizon. Hashtag fourth horizon. Hashtag Titan protocol. Hashtag Iron Titans Saga. Hashtag transformation story. Hashtag gym motivation. Hashtag alpha male energy. Hashtag unstoppable growth. Hashtag muscle story. Hashtag bodybuilding universe. Hashtag fitness saga. Hashtag strength culture. Hashtag gym culture. Hashtag men's physique. Hashtag classic physique. Hashtag aesthetic muscle. Hashtag legacy network. Hashtag council of titans. Hashtag project ascension. Hashtag Spa Hamam. Hashtag body transformation. Hashtag fitness motivation. Hashtag discipline. Hashtag leadership. Hashtag human potential. Fire Iron Titans Saga, Part 14 Full Story. Look at me Habibi. The fourth horizon era begins. Big muscle daddy, bodybuilders, muscle worship and fitness models fire. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. This is the complete YouTube description and full story summary of Iron Titans Saga, Part 14, where Ethan Vale reaches the highest turning point of his journey as the world of bodybuilders, muscle worship culture, fitness models, big muscle daddy legends, and transformation movements enters a completely new era called the fourth horizon. Brain Part 14 Full Story Summary. In Part 14, Ethan Vale continues his journey after discovering the truth behind the third horizon and the hidden legacy of Adrian Wolfe, the architect of the Titan Protocol. As the Spa Hamam mountain retreat becomes a global center of transformation culture, Ethan witnesses the rapid expansion of a worldwide movement built on discipline, leadership, mentorship, and human development. Across the valley, bodybuilders, fitness models, coaches, educators, entrepreneurs, and big muscle daddy figures gather, forming a powerful network of transformation-driven individuals united by a shared philosophy. Visible muscle represents discipline, but true strength comes from character, consistency, and contribution. The phrase, "Look at me Habibi," becomes symbolic throughout the retreat, not as arrogance, but as inspiration, representing proof of transformation and a reminder that change is possible for everyone. As the third horizon expands globally, Ethan learns that powerful external organizations are beginning to observe and analyze the movement, signaling that the influence of transformation culture is now too large to remain unnoticed. Adrian Wolfe later reveals the deeper structure behind the Titan Protocol evolution. First horizon right pointing arrow individual transformation. Second horizon right pointing arrow community transformation. Third horizon right pointing arrow global transformation. Fourth horizon right pointing arrow generational continuity. The fourth horizon is not a place, system, or organization, it is a generation of people who will inherit the principles of transformation and carry them forward into the future. Ethan realizes that everything he has experienced was never about reaching an endpoint, but about building a legacy that continues beyond any single leader, system, or movement. Biceps core themes. Big muscle daddy and bodybuilder transformation culture. Muscle worship is admiration of discipline and sacrifice. Spa Hamam retreat is recovery plus transformation center. Fitness models and elite athletes shaping global influence. Third horizon expansion across the world. Fourth horizon equals generational continuity of transformation. Titan Protocol legacy of Adrian Wolfe, Gabriel Stone, Atlas Black. Look at me Habibi, his inspiration and proof of change. Fire final message. Part 14 concludes with Ethan Vale understanding that transformation is no longer about individuals or even communities, it is about generations. The fourth horizon has begun, and the future of bodybuilding culture, muscle worship communities, fitness models, and global transformation networks now depends on what each person chooses to pass forward. Thumbs up like this video if you enjoyed the Iron Titans Saga Part 14. Speech balloon comment. What do you think the fourth horizon will become in Part 15? Bell subscribe for the next chapter of the Iron Titans universe. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, big muscle daddy admirers, and transformation story lovers. Hashtag CO tags. Hashtag big muscle daddy. Hashtag bodybuilder. Hashtag muscle worship. Hashtag muscle models. Hashtag fitness models. Hashtag look at me Habibi. Hashtag third horizon. Hashtag fourth horizon. Hashtag Titan Protocol. Hashtag Iron Titans Saga. Hashtag transformation story. Hashtag gym motivation. Hashtag alpha male energy. Hashtag unstoppable growth. Hashtag muscle story. Hashtag bodybuilding universe. Hashtag fitness saga. Hashtag strength culture. Hashtag gym culture. Hashtag men's physique. Hashtag classic physique. Hashtag aesthetic muscle. Hashtag legacy network. Hashtag council of titans. Hashtag project ascension. Hashtag Spa Hamam. Hashtag body transformation. Hashtag fitness motivation. Hashtag discipline. Hashtag leadership. Hashtag human potential. Fire Iron Titans Saga, Part 14 Full Story. Look at me Habibi. The fourth horizon era begins. Big muscle daddy, bodybuilders, muscle worship and fitness models fire. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. This is the complete YouTube description and full story summary of Iron Titans Saga, Part 14, where Ethan Vale reaches the highest turning point of his journey as the world of bodybuilders, muscle worship culture, fitness models, big muscle daddy legends, and transformation movements enters a completely new era called the Fourth Horizon. Brain Part 14 Full Story Summary. In Part 14, Ethan Vale continues his journey after discovering the truth behind the Third Horizon and the hidden legacy of Adrian Wolfe, the architect of the Titan Protocol. As the Spa Hamam mountain retreat becomes a global center of transformation culture, Ethan witnesses the rapid expansion of a worldwide movement built on discipline, leadership, mentorship, and human development. Across the valley, bodybuilders, fitness models, coaches, educators, entrepreneurs, and big muscle daddy figures gather, forming a powerful network of transformation-driven individuals united by a shared philosophy. Visible muscle represents discipline, but true strength comes from character, consistency, and contribution. The phrase, "Look at me Habibi," becomes symbolic throughout the retreat, not as arrogance, but as inspiration, representing proof of transformation and a reminder that change is possible for everyone. As the Third Horizon expands globally, Ethan learns that powerful external organizations are beginning to observe and analyze the movement, signaling that the influence of transformation culture is now too large to remain unnoticed. Adrian Wolfe later reveals the deeper structure behind the Titan Protocol evolution. First horizon, right pointing arrow, individual transformation. Second horizon, right pointing arrow, community transformation. Third horizon, right pointing arrow, global transformation. Fourth horizon, right pointing arrow, generational continuity. The fourth horizon is not a place, system, or organization, it is a generation of people who will inherit the principles of transformation and carry them forward into the future. Ethan realizes that everything he has experienced was never about reaching an endpoint, but about building a legacy that continues beyond any single leader, system, or movement. Biceps core themes. Big Muscle Daddy and Bodybuilder transformation culture. Muscle worship is admiration of discipline and sacrifice. Spa Hamam retreat is recovery plus transformation center. Fitness models and elite athletes shaping global influence. Third horizon expansion across the world. Fourth horizon equals generational continuity of transformation. Titan Protocol legacy of Adrian Wolfe, Gabriel Stone, Atlas Black. Look at Me Habibi, is inspiration and proof of change. Fire final message. Part 14 concludes with Ethan Vale understanding that transformation is no longer about individuals or even communities, it is about generations. The fourth horizon has begun, and the future of bodybuilding culture, muscle worship communities, fitness models, and global transformation networks now depends on what each person chooses to pass forward. Thumbs up like this video if you enjoyed the Iron Titans Saga Part 14. Speech balloon comment. What do you think the fourth horizon will become in Part 15? Bell subscribe for the next chapter of the Iron Titans universe. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, big muscle daddy admirers, and transformation story lovers. Hashtag CO tags. Hashtag big muscle daddy. Hashtag bodybuilder. Hashtag muscle worship. Hashtag muscle models. Hashtag fitness models. Hashtag look at me Habibi. Hashtag third horizon. Hashtag fourth horizon. Hashtag Titan Protocol. Hashtag Iron Titans Saga. Hashtag transformation story. Hashtag gym motivation. Hashtag alpha male energy. Hashtag unstoppable growth. Hashtag muscle story. Hashtag bodybuilding universe. Hashtag fitness saga. Hashtag strength culture. Hashtag gym culture. Hashtag men's physique. Hashtag classic physique. Hashtag aesthetic muscle. Hashtag legacy network. Hashtag council of titans. Hashtag project ascension. Hashtag Spa Hamam. Hashtag body transformation. Hashtag fitness motivation. Hashtag discipline. Hashtag leadership. Hashtag human potential. Fire Iron Titans Saga, Part 14 Full Story. Look at me Habibi. The fourth horizon era begins. Big muscle daddy, bodybuilders, muscle worship and fitness models fire. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. This is the complete YouTube description and full story summary of Iron Titans Saga, Part 14, where Ethan Vale reaches the highest turning point of his journey as the world of bodybuilders, muscle worship culture, fitness models, big muscle daddy legends, and transformation movements enters a completely new era called the Fourth Horizon. Brain Part 14 Full Story Summary. In Part 14, Ethan Vale continues his journey after discovering the truth behind the Third Horizon and the hidden legacy of Adrian Wolfe, the architect of the Titan Protocol. As the Spa Hamam mountain retreat becomes a global center of transformation culture, Ethan witnesses the rapid expansion of a worldwide movement built on discipline, leadership, mentorship, and human development. Across the valley, bodybuilders, fitness models, coaches, educators, entrepreneurs, and big muscle daddy figures gather, forming a powerful network of transformation-driven individuals united by a shared philosophy. Visible muscle represents discipline, but true strength comes from character, consistency, and contribution. The phrase, "Look at me Habibi," becomes symbolic throughout the retreat, not as arrogance, but as inspiration, representing proof of transformation and a reminder that change is possible for everyone. As the Third Horizon expands globally, Ethan learns that powerful external organizations are beginning to observe and analyze the movement, signaling that the influence of transformation culture is now too large to remain unnoticed. Adrian Wolfe later reveals the deeper structure behind the Titan protocol evolution. First horizon right pointing arrow individual transformation. Second horizon right pointing arrow community transformation. Third horizon right pointing arrow global transformation. Fourth horizon right pointing arrow generational continuity. The fourth horizon is not a place, system, or organization, it is a generation of people who will inherit the principles of transformation and carry them forward into the future. Ethan realizes that everything he has experienced was never about reaching an endpoint, but about building a legacy that continues beyond any single leader, system, or movement. Biceps core themes. Big Muscle Daddy and Bodybuilder transformation culture. Muscle worship is admiration of discipline and sacrifice. Spa Hamam retreat is recovery plus transformation center. Fitness models and elite athletes shaping global influence. Third horizon expansion across the world. Fourth horizon equals generational continuity of transformation. Titan protocol legacy of Adrian Wolfe, Gabriel Stone, Atlas Black. Look at Me Habibi, is inspiration and proof of change. Fire final message. Part 14 concludes with Ethan Vale understanding that transformation is no longer about individuals or even communities, it is about generations. The fourth horizon has begun, and the future of bodybuilding culture, muscle worship communities, fitness models, and global transformation networks now depends on what each person chooses to pass forward. Thumbs up like this video if you enjoyed the Iron Titans Saga Part 14. Speech balloon comment. What do you think the fourth horizon will become in Part 15? Bell subscribe for the next chapter of the Iron Titans universe. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, muscle enthusiasts, fitness models followers, big muscle daddy admirers, and transformation story lovers. Hashtag CO tags. Hashtag big muscle daddy. Hashtag bodybuilder. Hashtag muscle worship. Hashtag muscle models. Hashtag fitness models. Hashtag look at me Habibi. Hashtag third horizon. Hashtag fourth horizon. Hashtag Titan protocol. Hashtag Iron Titans Saga. Hashtag transformation story. Hashtag gym motivation. Hashtag alpha male energy. Hashtag unstoppable growth. Hashtag muscle story. Hashtag bodybuilding universe. Hashtag fitness saga. Hashtag strength culture. Hashtag gym culture. Hashtag men's physique. Hashtag classic physique. Hashtag aesthetic muscle. Hashtag legacy network. Hashtag council of titans. Hashtag project ascension.